Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live. The 18th match of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup was played today between India and Australia, which Australia went on to win by 6 wickets. Batting first, India posted a competitive score of 277 for 7 in 50 overs thanks to Yastika Bhatia, Mithali Raj and Harmanpreet Kaur, who scored delectable half-centuries. For Australia, it was the 19-year-old Darcy Brown who was the pick of the bowlers as she picked up 3 for 30 in her 8 overs. In reply, Australia got off to a flying start thanks to their prolific opening pair of Elisa Healy and Rachel Haynes, who stitched a 121-run partnership in just 19.2 overs. Captain McGlennan took on from where the openers left and scored a wonderful 97 off 107 balls to lead the run chase from the front. At the end, Australia managed to chase down the target of 278 in 49.3 overs to win the match by 6 wickets. For India, it was Pooja Vastrakar who was the pick of the bowlers as she picked up 2 for 43 in her 10 overs. Jhulan Goswami, playing her 200th ODI today, went wicketless. Also, the run chase of 278 was the record run chase, was the highest successful record run chase in the history of Women's Cricket World Cup. And of course, the opening partnership of 121 between Rachel Haynes and Elisa Healy is now the highest opening partnership in this edition of World Cup so far. Now, to talk more about this match, I have with me Dhanush Lavanya and Urvi Shah. And yes, after a brief discussion about the India Australia match, we'll be talking about the England and New Zealand game that will be played tomorrow, that is on 20th of March at the Eden Park in Auckland. The England New Zealand game will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time tomorrow, and you can catch all the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. But yes, before talking about the England New Zealand match, we'll be talking about this exciting contest that we witnessed today between India and Australia. So I welcome Dhanush and Urvi to this show. Just a brief introduction of both of you. So Dhanush is a content writer at Female Cricket, and Urvi Shah is a mental health facilitator and an avid cricket writer. I welcome both of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Dhanush, your first thoughts on the India-Australia match. It was a high-scoring game, more than 550 runs were scored, and we were hoping that probably India could cross the line. But your first thoughts on the game?
Uh, I was extremely happy with the way Team India batted in this match. They were really good when it comes to stepping up to the situation, and we were expecting the middle order to play some handful knocks and come back to form basically because the first 4 games they weren't in a good shape. And seeing Mithali score 68 runs was really nice. Yes, she took some time and she took some balls and had to stitch in that partnership with Yastika Bhatia, and she made sure that she played the anchor innings pretty well. But unfortunately, she got out at a situation where India were looking for more than 300, is what I feel. If she had stayed in there and had accelerated after during the time of her dismissal, I feel that she would have scored 100, and apart from that, India might have scored 300 plus runs, is what I feel. She got out at a very crucial stage, is what I will say. But Harmanpreet Kaur and Pooja Vastrakar, what they did in the last 8 overs of the match, like 65-run partnership, is what they had. It was commendable. 277 on the board was a competitive score for sure, and the difference basically we can see between the two sides is the first 10 overs. If you see Team India's first 10 overs, they scored like 39 runs, if I'm not wrong, and they lost both of their openers pretty cheaply, is what I'll say. Both Smriti Mandana and not Prithvi Shaw, Shafari Verma. So both of them lost their wickets early. So, but that was not the case with the Australian batters. Unfortunately, they were cruising in the first 10 overs. The opening bowlers, Julian Goswami and Meghna Singh, if you see their records at the end of the day, Julian went wicketless. She conceded like 64 runs. Meghna Singh conceded 68 runs, got the wicket in the fag end of the match. But if you see Australia's opening bowlers, Darcy Brown got 3 for 13 or 8 overs. And Megan Stroot was also quite economical and provided the support that Darcy Brown was requiring. That was the key factor, which is the reason why Australia won the match, is what I feel. Uri, what do you feel about the performance? What do you think about the the batting performance of Australia? I feel that they didn't have any issues in their batting, and they cruised throughout their innings. There was no issues of any pressure or anything in their batters. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel the only difference between us and them when it comes to batting was shot selection because pretty much the field was tight on both the ends. But to be aware of where the fielders are placed and to steal runs and find the gaps is what made the whole difference. Like when you see the opening partnership of Australia, they were literally stealing runs. They were just going, putting the ball in the gap. There was literally nothing our bowlers could have done different. But yeah, definitely our fielders had to up their game because they were really not backing what the bowlers were expecting of them, which also Mitali Raj mentioned in the post-match interview that she was expecting the fielding to be much better than what it was. Um, Also, I feel giving up under crunch situation was kind of the body language that was coming through, which actually made a lot of difference. Like if you see them before the rain interruption and you see them after the rain interruption when actually wickets started coming in. So I think that's where the whole match flipped the side. I was really hoping that the last 8 runs would have been defended well, but anyways, it was Australia's game. They were pretty much in the game 90% of the time in the second innings, so they were the ones to cross the line today.
Yeah, I have a question here, Julie. The thing was, if you see India's batting, especially Astika Bhatia and Mithali Raj, they both were pretty much set. They were having a 130-run partnership and all. If you see the dismissals of both of them, they just hit straight into the fielder out there in the sweeper end for Astika Bhatia and for deep for mid wicket or square region where for Mithali Raj. It was just straight into the. It was like catching practice for the fielder out there. Did you feel that was the difference between the side? Like how would we said, Team India weren't able to get those gaps, but Australians were really good when it comes to finding gaps and scoring runs.
I think, Dhanush, as you mentioned earlier, so batting first, India had to set a target, and they themselves were not sure whether 275 would be enough or 300 would be enough. So, in that confusion, probably, I think Yastika Bhatia and Mithali Raj both actually threw away their wickets, we can say, because both of them were set. They were looking good, they were playing their shots well. But then, just to up the ante, I think they went up in the air, which is, of course, not the strength of Mithali Raj. We have seen that over the years. But then again, just to have that 300, that psychological pressure on Australia, I think they went up in the air. And also, if we look at the other Indian batters, Shefali Verma, Smriti Mandhana, and Yastika Bhatia, of course. So I think, as Urvi mentioned, that Shefali Verma may find a place, and yes, she was there replacing Deepti Sharma, as you were talking earlier. But unfortunately, she could not capitalize on the opportunity. And if you see that there was a clear game plan for these top three batters, Smriti Mandhana, first, she loves to play on the offside. Okay, Australians, they were tempting her with that offside bowling line. They were tempting her to hit those off drives, and finally she fell prey because of the cloudy and windy conditions. Darcy Brown was able to get that swing, and she could get the better of Smriti Mandhana. Then for Shefali Verma, they were peppering her with the short balls. And we all know that she is quite vulnerable to the short pitch balls, and she was just moving away outside of her leg stump, and then she hit one in the air to get caught. And then for finally Yastika Bhatia, we know that she is good off the offside, so they were cramping her for room. Most of the balls were bowled in the middle and the leg stump, not giving her the room, but still Yastika Bhatia had the patience, we can say, to hit the loose balls, and she could get through. So I think the game plan was clear for the Australians. However, I did not find that we had a specific bowling plan for, say, Elisa Healy or Rachel Haynes, and we were just going with the flow. I think that was the biggest difference between the two sides. All right, so I think we can go on and on about this India Australia match, but we are joined by Ellie Indy, who is an avid watcher of New Zealand women's cricket. So, Ellie, we are glad to have you on Female Cricket Live. All right. So, okay, till the time Ellie is back into the
Thank you.
conversation. All right. Okay, great. Great to have you, Ellie. So, we were just talking about the India Australia match, but now that is done and dusted. And now we are looking forward to an exciting contest between the number 5 and number 6 team. It is it is surprising to see that these two strong teams are at number 5 and number 6 position in the points table right now. But how excited are you to see the England New Zealand contest? And what do you expect? Because today the match was played at the Eden Park, and the England New Zealand match is also going to be played at the Eden Park in Auckland. It is going to be a high scoring one, we are expecting. So, what are your thoughts on the match tomorrow?
It's going to be really close because basically both of these teams win. to get into the semi-finals. Whoever doesn't win, probably, I don't know the maths behind it, but most likely will not make it into the semis. So it's going to be a really tense game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on everyone. There might be errors here and there, and it's going to be a good one. And so I think we'll expect some good batting going on there.
Yeah. So, Dhanush, I would like to know your thoughts here since they are playing on the same ground tomorrow with the same dimensions. Do you see this as a high scoring game or somewhere around par score?
Definitely, it must be a high scoring game because see, today 275 on the board wasn't enough for India to defend. And the teams coming in tomorrow, they have to have that mindset that while going on to bat, they have to be like, we have to set a target beyond 300 and they have to have that aggressive approach. And if you see the batting performances between these two teams, especially Tammy Beaumont has been exceptional when it comes to batting against New Zealand. She has scored like 600 plus runs in 15 matches or something. And she has been really good in form in this World Cup as well. She has 250s in her name and has been looking good. She will be someone that I will be looking forward for in tomorrow's game because if she gets that hold in the very first inning, if she is able to settle herself and play that aggressive game that she is known for. I'm seeing big runs from Tammy Beaumont. Apart from her, I'm happy that the captain Heather Knight got a 50 in the previous game. She wasn't having a good World Cup till now, but the way she performed yesterday in the previous game against India, the whole team as a whole will be happy and confident that finally there is another player, the important player who has stepped up and performed and got some runs. So the team going into the match tomorrow, they are in a must-win situation anyways. Every match is a must-win for them. So I don't feel it's the ball is in the court of New Zealand is what I feel because they will be pressurized because apparently New Zealand should have been 4-1 because the two matches that they lost against South Africa and West Indies is something that they should have won, but unfortunately they lost. And now they are in a pressure situation similar to England. I just hope that both the teams perform well, but England is looking like a way more competitive side, and I feel that England will be having an upper hand over New Zealand tomorrow.
I think as Dhanush mentioned about Tammy Beaumont, and she has been the leading run getter for England as far as this World Cup is concerned, and also she has an average of more than 55 against New Zealand. So that will, of course, help her cause going into the match against New Zealand tomorrow. So, Ellie, do you think that there is over dependence on the New Zealand top four, Susie Bates, Sophie Devine, Amy Satterthwaite, and Amelia Kerr? Because we have seen that the middle order has not been able to perform much for New Zealand. And of course, apart from Sophie Devine, there were not major contributions so far from the other three.
Yeah, I think there has been, especially on Sophie Devine, because Susie Bates has kind of struggled recently opening. There was only that 79 not out off of 68 against Bangladesh where she really shone. And Sophie Devine has only been up there. When Susie Bates hasn't scored, Sophie's had to do like the double opening job. She's had to do two jobs at once. And then Amy Satterthwaite's come in. And actually, she's sort of had to pick up what's been left behind from Susie Bates. So there has definitely been an over-reliance on the top four, especially Sophie Devine and I would say Amy Satterthwaite, because middle order aren't scoring. Last game we saw nobody really after Brooke Halliday score any runs. Hannah Rowe, Leah Chahu both out for Ducks. Kate Mayan out 9 off of 8. It just terrible collapse, which is what New Zealand do not want for this game.
Yeah. Ellie, I would like to know from you that when it comes to batting, we do see that New Zealand is very much relying on the top order. But when it comes to bowling, we have seen everyone chip in and do their best, right? If we saw them against South Africa, where it was a crunch situation till it was like the game going down the wire. So sealing the deal and being calm under pressure is something that New Zealand will look for. So do you see Amelia Kerr, who has picked about like eight wickets in the tournament, if I'm not wrong? so far, rattling the England batting order tomorrow?
I can see that happening. She did it against South Africa. She took the 3 wickets there and definitely changed the game. I do think definitely she will be up there. She'll be getting those wickets. The only problem I have is in the past she's been quite expensive. So that might play on New Zealand's mind, but otherwise I do think if she's in form, if she's ready on that day, she will definitely upset England.
I think so because in the today's match between India and Australia, we saw Alana King, the leg spinner, picking up 2 wickets. So probably we can expect something from Amelia Kerr. But again, we have to consider the dimensions, ground dimensions, and they are pretty uneven. On one side, you have 55 meters. On the other side, you have 70 meters, and of course, the smaller straight boundaries. So, Dhanush, moving on, given the fact that apart from Sophie Devine, the rest of the three, they have not looked that good as per their standards. Do you think England have a good chance of getting rid of the New Zealand batters in the jiffy tomorrow? And also because Catherine Brunt has just picked up 1 wicket, Anya Shrubsole 4 wickets. They have not been in the best of touches. So do you think the England bowlers will get some confidence playing against New Zealand tomorrow?
I feel that these two players, especially Catherine Brunt and Anya Shrubsole, they are two experienced heads out there in their side. And the first 3 games, if you see how England played, how these two players especially played, they were conceding runs, not taking that many wickets and all. But if you see the match against India, where it was a crunch situation, it was a must-win game, and Anya Shrubsole was just a different bowler altogether. She was coming in, taking those early wickets, and putting the pressure on the side. And as you said, the apart from Sophie Devine, who has been excellent in this World Cup so far, 93 and 100 in the first match, Amelia Kerr hasn't had the best of the World Cup so far with the bat. With the ball, definitely she has got 2 3 wickets in a couple of matches, but with the bat, she has a lot more to give. But those 40s, those 30s, 40s won't be enough from her side, which is happening currently. And Amy Satterthwaite might have had 2 very good games, but it was on a losing end, unfortunately. So it is important for this top four to step up tomorrow. Otherwise, those two experienced heads in Catherine Brunt and Anya Shrubsole will just rattle them off. And we know if New Zealand lose those early wickets, they are going to fall like a pack of cards. We saw that example against Australia earlier in the tournament. So I don't want that to happen for New Zealand. And tomorrow is a knockout game pretty much. Who loses, they'll be pretty much out. Both the teams have lost 3 matches, and if one more, it's just done. So tomorrow is a really crucial game, and I'm looking forward to see who will step up.
Yeah, definitely. It is. Interestingly, it has been like New Zealand and England have lost to the same opponents. Uh, and there are 3 losses have come against Australia, South Africa, and West Indies. So, Ellie, I would like to know your thoughts. As Dhanush and Julie rightly mentioned, that the dimensions of the ground is small, the boundaries are smaller. Um, England will look to actually find their rhythm back, especially the top order of Heather Knight, Tammy Beaumont, and Nat Seaver. So, who do you think from New Zealand can actually keep them quiet in case you are bowling first?
That's a good one. I'm gonna say Leah Tahuhu. I've said Leah Tahuhu before. I'll say Leah Tahuhu again. She's got the experience. She knows what she's doing. But I also think maybe Jess Kerr, if they both open the bowling together, they will be able to just keep England to a minimum. Hopefully, from a New Zealand perspective, yeah, Leah Tahuhu and Jess Kerr might be able to do that.
Okay. I think Leah Tahuhu is the leading wicket taker for New Zealand in this World Cup with 9 wickets. But it is interesting that in the last 3 matches we have saw bowling Leah Tahuhu in the middle overs and not opening the bowling for New Zealand. So again, it is going to be a question whether Leah Tahuhu opens the bowling against England or she continues to bowl in the middle overs. So moving on, Dhanush, again we expect windy and cloudy conditions tomorrow. Again, a possibility of rain. It was possible that it was going to rain today as well, but the rain gods were pretty quiet and they wanted to watch this India Australia match. So let us hope that they are quiet again tomorrow and they want to watch this England New Zealand game. So, how do you think the toss will be important, and what do you think will the captain winning the toss opt to do?
As far as the toss is concerned, I feel that since it's a day game, I will be. I feel that the toss the team that wins the toss will go on to chase, because the ball came onto the bat really well in the second innings, and the batters were getting a really good amount of opportunities to score runs and all this stuff, and Australia were able to find those gaps and score big runs. But the key factor beyond toss is that the opening spell basically. And since tomorrow's game is a day match altogether, both the teams won't be having to play under lights in any situation or any circumstances. So I feel that the opening bowlers of both New Zealand and England are important. If they get early wickets like how Darcy Brown got today, then their team will have a major upper hand in the game. It just depends upon whether it will be Anya Shopsor and Catherine Brunt, the opening bowlers of England, or the opening bowlers of New Zealand, which I feel tomorrow will be Hannah Rowe and Jessica. Instead of Diata, who is having an exceptional performance in the middle overs, she has been really good. I don't think so. She will be given the ball in the early stages, and Frankie McKay won't be starting the bowling, is what I feel. Since the Pacers will get a lot of help in the first 10 overs, I feel these four bowlers are really key for their respective teams.
Yeah, Dhanush, I would like to ask you something. Like you mentioned that any team that is winning the toss will opt to bowl first. Yeah, so for England, we definitely see a lot of good bowling coming into picture tomorrow against New Zealand, because they might just want to keep the top order quiet. Uh, Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, and everyone. Do you see Nat Seaver coming back into her all guns blazing form tomorrow? Since it's like a shorter boundaries and it's a crucial game tomorrow for her. I think the last time she played like a to her potential was a century against Australia, if I'm not wrong. And post that she has been on and off.
Yeah, Nat Siva had a great start to the World Cup. She scored an amazing century out there against Australia in the first game, but she has got those 40s and 30s and 40s in the last couple of games. With the ball as well, she hasn't got that much amount of wickets as she is capable of getting with the amount of experience that she brings. Nat Shiva getting having a good match tomorrow will be great for England, because Tammy Beaumont has been doing well. Heather Knight has been showing really good performance. Danny White is one more name that I feel that has to step up and perform, because no one in the opening batters apart from Tammy Beaumont has been able to give that support to her in the World Cup until now. So Danny White is also one more name that I will add into it. But if Nat Shiva performs well both with bat and ball, I think she has done enough amount of job in the previous couple of games. Unfortunately, the team didn't win, but she has the capacity to score those big runs. And since the dimensions are small, she will go for the big hits for sure. It will be an amazing game if Nat Shiva has an all-round performance, and that will be like a cherry on top for England at the end of the day if they win the match.
And apart from Nat Seaver, I think all eyes will be on Charlie Dean, because the other day against India she picked up 4 wickets. So Ellie, do you think the New Zealand batters will have specific plans to face Charlie Dean tomorrow, given that she's in good form after that last match against India?
I think we'll have some form of idea because she debuted in that England ODI series a few months ago at home versus New Zealand. So they'll have an idea of how to play her, how to attack. But this is at home, it's a different experience, it's a different environment for them. And will they know how to properly attack her? They'll have an idea. They've played her before, they've got a rough understanding of what she does, how she plays. I think it's just how they go about it, and hopefully they get a few runs off of her. But they'll have a rough idea given the ODI series in the past.
Yeah. Talking about the home advantage, Ellie, we saw that against South Africa, it was a very good game that New Zealand had. Do you see New Zealand making any changes tomorrow, or going with the same team combination and giving this squad one more chance to actually up their game?
Potentially, there could be some changes because Brooke Halliday, while she's been performing well, she needs someone in that middle order, and there is, not many people there to support her. She's been great so far in this World Cup, but she needs someone to really carry it on because New Zealand's middle order in this World Cup, especially against the South Africa game, just have been disappointing, and arguably what's kind of let them down in their games. Maybe it wouldn't have gone to the last over in that South Africa game had the middle order fired. So there might be some tweaks in the middle order. Who? I'm not very sure, but we might see a few changes there.
Dhanush, do you expect England to make any changes for tomorrow's match?
No, they had a winning combination in the previous game. Every department performed well. The bowling was exceptional. The batting was good. Yeah, they gave a few wickets in the end, but they at the end of the day they did their job. So I don't see them doing any changes. I don't feel New Zealand also will do any changes. It is just those top four need to step up is what their responsibility is at the end of the day, and they have to adhere to that. So I don't see any changes from both the sides.
Right. Okay, and before we close this discussion, Ellie, your quick predictions for tomorrow's match. What could be the score, whichever team bats first, and who could win?
I would like to see New Zealand win. Being English, it's quite weird to say that, but I would like to see New Zealand win. Score, I'm not quite sure. I think India's score yesterday or today, I don't know, time zones, that looked defendable to a certain degree. They could have defended their score. So around there, maybe a bit higher, just to make sure, could be a good total. Who should bat first? I'm not quite sure with that one, but I think if New Zealand can just bat well and keep that middle order ready, get a good score in, preferably better than India's, so they can defend it, I think New Zealand could win this.
So Dhanush, England against Australia playing their World Cup opener scored 298. Do you expect something like that from England if they get a chance to bat first tomorrow?
Yeah, the dimensions are pretty much out there to make the best use out of it. And the wicket also today looked really good to bat on. And since it's a day game, the ball will come onto the bat irrespective of it's day or night. Since it's a day game, I'm saying that the bowlers are the ones who are going to be key. The bowling team which is going to perform well will win the match is what I feel. And expecting 300, 320 somewhere around that range because both the teams have a very good batting unit out there. And as far as winning is concerned, if England win today, it's going to be that amazing run that they are having, where every match is a do or die, and they have to win all the four matches, is what their situation is. So now 3 matches in a row, it will be outstanding. But if New Zealand loses, they will be really unhappy. They will be embarrassed in a way because they are getting eliminated in their home condition, and they couldn't use the whole situation. Well, the last time the World Cup happened in New Zealand, they were the champions in 2000. And now going out in the league stage with still one match left, that's really going to be embarrassing for them. So it is very tough for both of them. It's a knockout game pretty much. So let us see. The best team wins is what I'll say.
Absolutely. I think it is going to be a knockout game, and the team that wins tomorrow will have a strong chance of making it to the semi-final slots. All right. So it was amazing talking to you, Ellie, Dhanush, and Urvi about this exciting match between England and New Zealand that we are going to see tomorrow, that is 20th of March. The match will be played at the Eden Park in Auckland, and it will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So all the fans, you can catch the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. to preview the match between West Indies and Pakistan. So do join us for a conversation tomorrow at 8 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.